I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about spirituality. As you may know, our Fab Fertile Method, we take a mind, body, spirit approach to your fertility, addressing the food sensitivities, gut infections, environmental toxins, looking at limiting beliefs, looking at mindset, helping you reframe your thoughts. And then also the spiritual side of things, being able to help you visualize your baby coming. And so excited today to really dig into the spiritual side of things, talking about spirit babies, how to know that the soul of your baby is waiting. How do you trust your intuition? How do you deepen your spiritual practice? How do you start a spiritual practice? So excited for you to listen today. I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 4 spots available per month to work with us. I would like to invite you and your partner to a Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call. And this call is for you if you meet at least one of these criteria. You've been trying to get pregnant for at least 2 years. You've been through at least one failed IUI or IVF. This calls for action takers. If you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. If you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. That's Fab Fertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. There's a lot of information about which supplements are right for fertility. And like most couples I speak with, you are probably taking a lot of supplements. But are these supplements optimizing or harming your fertility? That's why we recommend professional grade supplements without harmful dyes, fillers, or top allergens so that you can prepare your body in the best way for pregnancy. And as you may know, we take a functional approach to fertility. And while supplements are included in your customized protocols, which are based on testing, they are only part of the equation because there's no pill you can take that will out-supplement the basics, such as poor diet, dysregulated sleep, either moving too much or not enough, and not dealing with chronic stress. So we do recommend basic supplements for both men and women. And these are essential starters that you need to have right now to optimize your preconception health. And I'm excited to offer you a special discount at our Fab Fertile store. You'll receive 15% discount on our professional grade supplements. So simply go to Fab Fertile Store. That's F-A-B fertilestore.com to access the basic supplements so that you can prepare your body for pregnancy success without wasting time and money on supplements that may not be right for you. Go to Fab Fertile Store. That's fabfertilestore.com and save 15% on your order. Hey there. Thanks so much for listening to the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. And I've got a favor to ask you. If you are enjoying learning about the functional approach to fertility, consider going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the podcast. This is how it helps the show reach more people that are struggling with infertility, knowing that there's another approach that really can get to the bottom of why it's not working in the first place. So all you need to do is, if you're on the app or the desktop, just go in and consider leaving a 5-star rating and leave a review. And there is step-by-step instructions in the show notes showing you exactly how to do that. So if you can just take a few minutes, just take the few minutes right now. You can pause this recording, come back, leave the review. It would really mean the world to me and help others that are on the fertility journey as well. Take care. I didn't need to go to donor eggs. Obviously, I don't regret it. I have beautiful children. I could have done things differently, restored. I was still cycling back in my 20s. I could have looked at my health, the environmental toxins, the stress I was under.
Many women are being told their eggs are too old. That's often merely an assumption that's not based on actual evidence. The reason being that there is no direct test of egg quality. You can't test egg quality.
It's the man who's got a food sensitivity or he has a zinc deficiency.
Like, there can be a root cause to these symptoms that are, quote unquote, period problems, that the doctor will pass you a pill without any question of why.
And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not one of struggle, or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Why is IVF the first step? Because we believe it should be the last step. Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey there, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. Today, I'm welcoming Nancy Weiss back to the podcast, and we're digging into how to approach the fertility journey on your own terms, and we're digging into spirituality. So Nancy is part of my team here at Fab Fertile. She offers distance Reiki, intuitive, and clairvoyant readings in our couples coaching program, which uses functional lab testing, diet, and lifestyle changes to dramatically improve conception. So if you're struggling with infertility, your body is desperately trying to tell you something. And focusing on your health will either help you get pregnant naturally, or if you do need to go to the fertility clinic, it will improve your chances of success. Nancy Weiss is a fertility coach and Reiki master who supports women by guiding them to awaken their spiritual energy to give life to the baby of their dreams. She teaches powerful energy and manifestation techniques, chakra balancing, and blends it all with energy healing and spirit baby communication for profound transformation. And she's trained as a holistic health coach at the Institute for Integrated Nutrition, and applying principles such as the law of attraction in her life, she's been able to see the fruits of her success on her own road to conceive and is passionate about helping others do the same. So thanks so much for listening. And I'm so thankful that you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Hey, Nancy, excited to have you back on the podcast.
Oh, me too. I am so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you back. It's been a while, and I really wanted to have you back on because now you've actually your services are part of our Fab Fertile Method, our couples coaching program, offering that like your services are amazing. I was just talking about beforehand before we got in here, and I just had a session with you recently. Probably the last 6 or 7 months, I've been meditating sporadically. I just really have not done a lot of my spiritual practice. I moved, and then I guess I was busy, and I don't know what it was. COVID, I don't know what it was, but I was just off my game. And then so I had that session with you, and I'm like, it's a half-hour session, and we'll go through it, but it just like rejigged me. I am like ready to like dig into my intuitive powers, which we all have. And I just think it's so helpful on the fertility journey, especially if you're feeling like you're not quite sure which way to go and the uncertainty of it all. We include this in our programs. We take a mind, body, spirit approach and, looking at the gut infections, the food sensitivities, looking at mindset and the spiritual piece of this. Do you visualize this working, and do you see yourself, having your baby? And so the services that you're offering inside the program are amazing. So I'm excited to dig into that.
Oh, I am so excited to be able to bring this to the couples and the women in the coaching program. It just opens up so much more, when we start to tap into everything that we have, and again, it's like not just eating well or exercising or figuring out, like what things aren't maybe good for you in terms of foods and things like that, but then bringing it all together with mindset and just being aware of your energy and that you have the ability to move and change your energy. Reiki and energy healing really helps with that.
Absolutely. So let's dig in here. So why do you feel it is important to tap into your spirituality when you're trying to conceive? I think a lot of times what I've found, especially if you've been doing this for a number of years, like most people have come to us, have been trying for at least 2 years, or they've gone through, a failed IUI and IVF. So there's been a lot of like financial, emotional heartache and, infertility impacting all aspects of our lives. And we may just feel in a very kind of dark spot thinking, is this even going to work? And questioning things. So how can tapping into your intuition or spirituality really be helpful?
Yeah. I mean, again, like you just said, you're going through so much and it could really wear you down and in so many different ways, where you're just getting bogged down with a negative mindset, which is, understandable when you have things that aren't working out exactly the way you want them to. I think it's so important to tap into the spirituality because it helps you to become stronger on a different level. It helps you to have, for me, it's unwavering faith that it will work out and that you can keep figuring out what to do in order to get yourself there. So we aren't just like flesh and bone. We're a soul in a human body. And I think that, when you just, the connection with your spirituality, it just really enhances the relationship with yourself and your spirit baby, which we'll talk about, but just getting deeper, on a deeper level so that you can continue to move forward with all the things that you need to do for yourself in order to create your family. Those of us that go through infertility, people say, well, people that are just getting pregnant, they're not, talking about spirituality, they're just getting pregnant. But I just feel that certain women, me and you, and our listeners out there, we're called to a different journey. And the fertility journey can be difficult, but it could also be very rewarding as well in all the things that you learn and discover about yourself and bringing your family into reality.
Yeah, it's simply when you're on it, you don't want to be on it, but looking back, like the lessons learned and kind of the path it brought you to, it's obviously, it is something you don't wish to experience, but then looking back, most people that are on and it's easy enough as we sit here on the other side. When you're stuck in the middle of a struggle, there is a beginning, middle, and end. And you may be either in the beginning or in the messy middle, and it's hard to see that end in sight, but there is an end to every struggle. So to be able to know that, and that's why digging into your intuition and spirituality can help you, as you say, have that unwavering faith that is going to work out.
Yes, exactly. And I love teaching women about that, about being able to put those things together and being able to, do certain practices, belief practices and manifestation practices so that, you are filled with that faith. You are filled with that positivity that keeps you moving forward.
And so what if this approach does not mix with our faith, be it our religious faith? Are there any suggestions do you have on that?
For me, the most important thing to know when it comes to me specifically about energy healing, I do one of the types I do is called Reiki, which is a Japanese technique of energy healing. And there is no dogma attached to it. And that means that it's not connected to any religious belief systems. So it wouldn't, it's not something that would interfere with that. It's purely based on universal energy, the energy within the universe and within ourselves, and that we're all connected to each other. So that really isn't religious. That isn't religion based. So I think that makes it easier or may ease someone that is a little bit worried about that.
Yeah, because I think I think some people may, if they have a very strong faith-based practice, that this might sort of take them off track, or it may not align properly. So you're saying, as always, that's a very personal decision, but because it's not faith-based, you typically don't see any people having issues with that, or?
No, I haven't come across that. I have people that are, all different religions or no religion at all. But again, there's no religious connection with it. It's free to work with your own belief system.
And so how do we become more aware of our energy, that we're all these energetic beings? How do we become aware of that?
I know. Yes. We have a lot of things going on in our lives. We're so busy. And one of the ways to really become more aware of our energy is by quieting down and becoming mindful. That is a huge way to start tapping into ourselves, because we're just kind of sometimes I feel and I think COVID has been a good thing for some people because it has forced us to slow down in certain ways. People have learned more about themselves. Things have changed. You're somebody's working in the city, they're running around like a chicken without a head. They're, on public transportation and running to and back and from work and things like that. And we have our home life and our computers and cell phones, and we're just kind of disconnected from ourselves. Just becoming quiet, spending time, being aware, saying, you know what, I'm going to pay attention to my feelings. I'm going to do something slowly. I'm going to do something more mindful, taking a walk. Literally stopping to smell the roses is one of my favorite things to do. The neighbors must think I'm crazy because I'm smelling their rose bushes, but hey,
I do the same thing.
What are you going to do? Just the other day, and it happens to me too, even though, this is my work and this is how I live. It's very important to me. Just the other day, I was taking a walk, and what I decided to do on this walk was to really pay attention to the sounds around me and pick out all the sounds that I could hear. So, as I was walking and I sat down, I listened to, I heard a bird in a tree. I heard the trickle of water on the pond. I heard wind through the pine trees. That's where you start to get in touch with yourself a little bit more. And because we are an energetic body, the further and more that you do that, you're then able to really connect in then with yourself, check in with your feelings and your emotions and how your body feels, how something makes you feel. So I think, again, just becoming aware of your energy takes the time. You need to become mindful, becoming mindful of your outer world so that you can then become more aware of your inner world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I take a daily walk or twice daily walk with the dog. And the other day, usually with my husband, but he was at work, but we went out by myself with the dog, and there's this pond behind us and it's filled with Canada geese. Mm-hmm. And literally, like, it's a little out of hand there. There must be like hundreds of these geese, and they were all honking. And then there's ducks in there. And I literally was like watching them fly in and fly out. And these little ducks were like paddling. I was like, wow, look how fast that duck is. I literally was like totally like transfixed by these little animals. And they're in there having their own little, it was like their own conversation. And usually I'd be, whipping by, and my husband and I'd be, deep in conversation about whatever, we're whatever we're talking about. And here I was just like really present and kind of in wonder with nature and animals that are around us.
Yes. Like you said, being present in the current moment of what is happening, right now at this time, you start to continually do that. And you really start to then just become more connected with yourself when you start to be present with the outer world. You get quiet and you are able to hear your intuition and really follow what feels good.
Yeah. And so that intuition piece of intuition versus fear, like how do we know that the voice is our true voice rather than that, that's that voice of, based on fear? How do we discern which is the true voice of our intuition?
When we're accessing, accessing your intuition too, it's becoming more mindful of our body, the emotions, the reactions. We're better able to hear our higher self. We can hear and feel when things are good to us, knowing how we can make a good choice that aligns with us. And, when it comes to that decision and uncertainty, I feel like when we access our spiritual side, we're accessing our heart as opposed to coming from our brain. When we come from our heart, we're making decisions based on love and joy and bliss and what feels good. And our brain oftentimes is logical and can kind of keep you stuck and also come from fear. So when you're making decisions from fear-based, that's generally not your intuition. When you're making decisions and they just feel good and you feel that love and that comfortableness, though you may be a little bit scared and excited about what you're about to do, whatever decision that is, that's knowing when we're coming from that intuition side versus the fear-based brain side of things.
Yeah. And typically in the fertility journey and really in life as well, but with decisions. And then here we are on certain times, and the fertility, anyone that's gone through infertility, the whole thing is uncertain. And so being able to each time following our intuition to be able to help us make decisions. And sometimes we get stuck in that paralysis and we're like, which way is the way I should go? And I don't know. We overthink it. And then, we get stuck in our logical brain. Mm-hmm. And so being able to access that knowing, I was just doing an exercise today, actually, because after I had the session with you, I went down a whole road of reinvigorating my spiritual side again. And I'm in the spiritual course, and is talking about your psychic space and being able to, when you're in your psychic space, being able to, then make decisions. So you have a kind of like a whiteboard. For me, this was like a whiteboard. There's like a green light and a red light, and so you ask yourself, oh, do I want the salad today for lunch? And then, so just simple questions like that. And the green light goes off. Yes, I want the salad. I'm going to wear the blue. I'm going to wear the brown shoes today. Yes. Or will I wear the or the green light then, or will I wear, black shoes, red light? So those kind of like simple decisions. And then you can then go on to some more of the complex of being able to trust yourself. I think sometimes people get stuck in indecision and then
Yes.
stuck.
Yes. I mean, I think we're using our intuition and things like that all the time. Like even at the supermarket, when you go to choose an apple, you're just drawn to you're drawn to certain things. And it's a natural thing, but it's like a muscle and it needs to be exercised in order for it to really work well. So, some people say like, oh, I don't have any intuition, or, I don't know how I can trust myself. It definitely starts, when you're starting out, it starts small. And as you go from there, you're able to access more and more. It's another journey, for people to do, but it's a very personal and rewarding one, and it works differently for everybody. But once you start tapping in and getting in tune, I think you're on a roll then, and you're really able to just keep using it to your benefit.
Yeah, I've talked about this before on the podcast, how I was years in corporate and this very male dominated engineering environments, and my intuition was beaten out of me. So now it's continually bringing it forward. And it's interesting, how I get off track, but it is, how long do you get off track for? Is it months, years, forever? But it's just to keep coming back to it, because I know for me, when I do this practice, there's just a sense of calm. And then you can literally, weirdly enough, because I'm not a floater, but like float through the day because I'm like, what do you mean floating? Yeah. You're able to then not have as much friction somehow it feels as you get into that place of knowing. And, especially when you're in the middle of a struggle, there's a lot of comfort there.
Yes. And then to just moving away from fear, and making fear-based decisions like, oh no, I better run and do IVF tomorrow because, this is my last chance. Anytime you start having that internal conversation like that, that's where that fear is coming from. And when we have fear, it separates us from reaching our goal. I think I know, I believe it. I know it because I've lived it. So, really just sitting back and, letting information come to you and taking it in and taking the time to think about it and how it feels in your body, So I have women that are like, you know what, IVF or whatever, it's not for me. I don't want to do it, and that's okay. It's okay when you're able to make those decisions and feel comfortable about them. That's the thing too, is feeling comfort with your decision where you're like, yes, I made the absolute right decision for myself. It takes time, but once you start working that muscle, that third eye, it really is beneficial.
And so as part of the couples coaching program, so you're offering, is included in the program, is a 30-minute Reiki or intuitive reading session. And so yeah, I experienced this about a month or so ago. We're recording this in January 2021, and it was amazing. And so and it was interesting because we booked it, and I really didn't know what to expect. And then I went back and I'm like, oh, so I'm lying. I thought you'd be, talking to me, but no, you're energetically coming in. And it was really powerful because I literally lay on the bed for 30 minutes and I could feel, I don't know, I felt like my arms were kind of like not burning, but there was something there. And I thought, God, because I meditated enough. But the 30 minutes went by like really quickly. Well, then I had a whole wake up call after that. So it was amazing. So can you kind of take us through? And so obviously mine was not kind of what you do for one of our couples in the couples coaching program, but can you kind of go through what they can expect and what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, I am a Reiki master, so that I've been trained and attuned to that type of energy healing. I am psychic. I hate the word psychic, but it's what it is. I'm psychic and a clairvoyant. So I see mostly everything through almost like videos and pictures in my mind, or I just know. The psychic part is just me knowing something. So I'm able to connect with a person using this universal energy, universal white light. And what I do is, I start out by asking the person their intentions. So whatever that may be, they may want to look for healing from their last miscarriage, or they may want to feel more hope and faith that, they're going to be, bringing their family together. So I get that information from my client. And then we are, I have clients all over the world. Some are in Australia, Canada, US, and it works no matter whether you're right next to me or whether you're 5,000 miles away. So I'm in my office, you are relaxing at home, and we don't have a connection. So we're not talking. We don't have a connection. We just have a specific time. Usually it's 9:00 where the client is laying down at home. I usually provide a meditation track from YouTube for them to listen to. Sometimes I may send a specific one that has very specific healing frequencies in it, or it may just be a general one just to help the body to get relaxed. And then I am working on my side, and I use something called a surrogate doll. And that just is it's actually a little art doll, if anybody's ever seen the movable art doll, which helps me to kind of really picture the different parts of the body and the chakras. And so I'll do a chakra scan, and then I'll be called to a specific chakra. So I may go right to the root chakra, which I think we talked about you being ungrounded.
Yes. And it was just to interrupt on there, because it was interesting. I got that feedback, and then I found that program, and the first thing in the program was the grounding cord, where I was like doing the grounding cord into the earth. I'm like, well, it was like, I found this thing. It was just this whole, and she hadn't talked in her program for like a year. She was doing a live session that night. It was like the most freaking thing ever. Anyways, yeah, it's just to follow those hits.
Yes. That's the synchronicity of the universe. I love it. So there I am, I'm connecting with the client on a psychic level, on an energetic level. And then I'm receiving different types of messages. So while healing is being sent through universal energy, and again, I am not the healer. I am not healing a client. It is through, I'm just a channel and a conduit of it. So I always tell people, I'm like, I'm not, I may call myself an energy healer, but we're not actually, any healer is not doing the actual healing. It is coming through this beautiful universal light and energy, because the universe knows exactly where these good vibes are needed. It's like a two-way street of communication. While the energy is being sent to you, I'm then receiving clairvoyant messages, I have intuitive messages. There's sometimes spirit baby communication. So all these things come through to me. And then I will end the session. And right after that, I record about a 10-minute YouTube video of all of my findings, all of the messages that came through, whether they're intuitive messages or messages from spirit baby. And then I do a little mini angel card reading. And so then I send that off to the client, and then they have their video that they could watch. And my clients love watching my videos over and over again, because they always get these little tidbits of information from them and in them.
The whole thing is very powerful, because it's kind of interesting as you're lying there and you're like, huh. And then everything you said was, was bang on. So what about like for you with the clairvoyant piece? Like when did you, because I've known you for a number of years.
Yeah.
And, so when did you, like you've probably always had this, well, we all do, but like when did you like embrace it and you're like, yeah, this is it?
I became aware when I was about 8 years old. And then by the time I was 11, I was kind of full into it, where I was reading books on it, and I was going to the bookstore and trying to find books on it. And I was practicing. So I would practice different types of mentalism. Like I would use a deck of cards, and I would try to envision what was on the other side of that cards. I used to do things with my friends. So I knew when spirit was around. So I started actually sensing spirit babies and children that had passed over when I was about 11 years old. And that has followed, I've just been on this path my entire life. I didn't realize it. Who knew that it would all come around again, and that this is what I would be doing for work, talking about spirit babies and things like that. It's like a dream come true to me, for me, because it's just something that I've experienced my entire life, and I have also been working on to improve as well. So I'm always working on it. It's not like just, you don't just know everything. I'm constantly working on my skill and my craft, to be able to deliver the best messages and information to my clients. And then I realized when I was a fertility coach, when I started out as a fertility coach about, I think 3 or 4 years ago now, I kind of was doing it more from a health coach perspective of diet and exercise. And then I realized how I was on my journey, and I was using all these spiritual things, when it was like Reiki and crystals and manifestation. And I said, oh my goodness, I have to share this with women. I have to share what I'm doing. And so that's when I came out of the spiritual closet, and I really started to market myself, as an intuitive coach and a Reiki master, and really, and then also providing energy healing for my clients. So it's been a lifelong journey for me. And, it's just so exciting to be able to bring this to other women.
What about the clairvoyant piece, being able to see those? Because I typically am very visual, and will see when I'm practicing this, I see things. Other people, it's like knowing, or they feel it. So for you, it's seeing pictures or movies. What is that like?
For me, yes, I'm clairvoyant. I'm claircognizant, clairsentient. So there's a whole bunch of different of the clairs, they're called. Yeah. But clairvoyant is the most powerful for me, where when I'm in session and I'm closing my eyes and connecting with the client, I will see symbols, I will see pictures, or I will just know, I will just be like, okay, I know that there's a passed on male, and that male is above you, meaning they're like a grandfather or father, or I may see something like roses, or I even had somebody come up with gang signs one time. So I see I just see these pictures as like a fluid, sometimes flashes, and sometimes like a fluid movie in my mind.
And so the spirit baby thing, topic, can you talk about that for us, and what you're seeing in sessions, and kind of what exactly that is?
Yeah. So, when it comes to spirit babies, some listeners may know what that is, and some may not. For me, my belief from what I've seen on the other side, and I've experienced on the other side with spirit, is that we are constantly evolving as humans. And I believe that we experience life more than once. I don't think we're just here and gone. And that's going to be, everyone's going to have a very specific belief on that, but this is mine. Again, because of what I do for a living, what I've experienced myself, and what I've seen others in the field experience. I believe that we choose our parents. And so that, we choose our parents from the other side. We know who our parents who we want our parents to be. We know the type of life lessons we want to learn. So we'll put ourselves, our spirit baby will put themselves in a situation where they're coming into the life that is the human life that is going to serve them best on a soul level, so that they can continually evolve.
And as far as any messages and things like that, does a spirit baby always come through for people, or what are you seeing?
I do not always get spirit babies, but that doesn't mean that they are not there. Just like if you went to a medium to speak to your to connect with your grandfather that passed away, we don't know who's going to show up in session. So I've had people's like aunts on the mother's side show up. I've had, and it may not be really, my sessions everything isn't always related to fertility. Everything comes through, and I pass that on to my client. Because I think that helps them connect and believe more in certain things, and just knowing that of all the possibilities. So spirit babies come through in all kinds of different ways. Some come just through as I sense them as presences or dots of light. Some of them come through and I see exactly what they look like. They, may look like a 4-year-old boy with blonde hair and blue eyes. And the best part, though, is when their personality comes through and I get to have conversation with them. Some of them are super chatty. like my daughter Luna was about, I was talking to her before she came through, and she was the sassiest thing. She had her hands on her hips. Yeah. And it hasn't changed.
I've seen the little pictures. Yeah. She's a little sassy thing, isn't she?
Yeah. It hasn't changed. So just to see like her, she was so sassy and full of conversation. And then there are other spirit babies that are more on a quiet side, that are shy, just like we all have personalities here on Earth side. Spirit babies have their own personalities too. So like, again, some are super chatty, some are bossy, some like to speak for the other spirit babies. So they may be with siblings, like 2 or 3 siblings, but they're the ones that talk for them. It's interesting too. When I talk to them, I may sense them as like, say, a 6-year-old, but they have the knowledge and just, they have this air that they are so much older than what they really are, because they just know so much. It's so incredible. Like, even talking about it now, I'm like, how is this possible? But it is. It really is, because and because I've experienced it. If I was telling somebody that's never experienced it, I totally understand why it would be hard to believe. But when you get things like the proof that I've gotten, the proof that I've brought through, it's just undeniable, and it's incredible.
And what about if someone's experienced loss? How would this be helpful for them? I don't know if there's...
Yeah, connecting with so I've done a whole video about this. I think I have, about the ways different babies come through. And so, some babies that have been a result, have been miscarried, are still there in spirit on the other side, waiting to come through. And when a woman hears this just shows there's just so much there. There's so much love there, because there's that connection, knowing that it's not just lost. Nothing is, this baby isn't forever lost. And that they're there on the other side, waiting for the perfect time to come through. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is that it's not on our time. It's on their time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the concept of, I guess, this whole linear time thing is an interesting concept too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What about anything specifically you wanted to talk about as far as deepening our spiritual practice? So after we do a session, is there any kind of recommendations then typically to go deeper, or what are some things you can suggest?
Yeah, in session, so I may get different things that come through, whether it's an emotional thing. I may uncover maybe past trauma. Some women, I have a number of clients that have experienced sexual abuse, and things like that. And they were able to tap into that, and really, whether they then decided to get some more therapy to move through it, or doing forgiveness exercises, forgiveness for themselves, for others, all different types of things. Something may come up with, like, I may feel that you're not grounded or you're flighty. So I may say, hey, let's do some rooting and grounding exercises. Or if you've had multiple miscarriages, a lot of times the heart chakra is just so closed and blocked with good reason, but helping to open that up. So I may give suggestions on, doing heart chakra things or throat chakra exercises, depending on what it is, what feels good for a client.
What would be a heart opener? Like, you can do some of the yoga poses that.
Yes, I talk about heart. Yes, the heart openers all the time. That's like a great physical way to do that, to physically open up the chest. I love, letters to loved ones, letters to babies. That's a wonderful way of just expressing how much love and care and the things that you're feeling about someone that has maybe passed away, or a child that you have miscarried, and letting them know, how much you love them, how much you want them here. Whatever, again, it's such a personal thing. But just opening up the line of communication again, is important, because when we're hurt, when we have grief and hurt, and grief is okay. I'm not saying that it's, we shouldn't have it, but it shuts us down. It shuts the heart down immensely. And when we're trying to bring in new life, sometimes it's just hard. I feel like it's harder when we're so closed. So opening things back up again, opening lines of communication is a wonderful. Also, another exercise I love giving is a forgiveness letter. We are so hard on ourselves, so much. We're so hard on ourselves, especially going through fertility issues. So, just forgiving yourself, forgiving others for the way they may have treated you, and just literally sitting there and making a list of all these things to just unload it to the universe and let it be taken care of.
I love that. Is there, what if someone can't visualize it working? They're just sort of gone through years of this and they feel hopeless. How can this, practice kind of give them some peace or calm?
Do you mean like the forgiveness practice or
no, just in general, if they can't visualize a baby for themselves, maybe it's just they've lost hope.
Mm-hmm. I think it's starting and working with where someone is at. So, sometimes I talk about doing affirmations, or sometimes I may say, picture yourself pregnant, or put your hand on your belly and feel like you're pregnant. And that may be really difficult for someone to do. So they can start off with where they're at, saying like, I am open to feeling this way, or I am open to one day being able to feel myself pregnant, or so starting like a dialogue, like I don't want to say a dialogue, but starting like that, where you're just you may not be able to throw yourself all into it, but taking maybe little small steps to get there. Because like you said, it after years of, losing hope and pain and grief, you can't just probably jump into the positive side and say, hey, everything's perfect. You need to take the small steps in order to get there. So starting off with things like that, like maybe an affirmation saying, I am ready, or I am open to one day feeling like X, Y, and Z. I'm not coming up with a good example right now.
But yeah, because it can be that we're protecting ourselves, we're guarding ourselves. It's gonna be like this shield around us, because if we experience more pain, we're trying to protect ourselves from that. And so if we start to gradually open up, and that's those hard openers to open it up to the possibilities.
Yes, you said it perfectly just now.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a book or a website or an app or documentary, anything that you love and want to recommend to our listeners?
Yes. I love, so 2 books. The first book is Spirit Babies by Walter McKitchen. Mm-hmm. He has passed on, but his book is absolutely incredible. He was the ultimate spirit baby whisperer. And I aspire to be like him. He just breaks down so many stories of spirit babies and how they come through, and he helps to connect you with your own spirit baby. So doing specific exercises, heart opening exercises, intuitive exercises, to start connecting with them. So Spirit Babies, and it's just an awesome read. Like, it's just such a cool read because you get to see a glimpse of the other side through the spirit babies and how they come through to their parents.
He talks about in there that conception contract. Can you talk about that?
I am not the expert on that, but for me, it goes back to babies choosing how they want to come in and who they want to come in. Like, I have a couple that I'm working with now that they each have their own spirit babies.
Oh, wow. And
one comes through for the husband, and a boy comes in through for the wife. And just like right there, and which I've never experienced before until I worked with them. But just right there, that little girl, like, that's her dad. And she knows obviously that they're together and that's going to be her mom, but she is connected to him even before the two of them met. That's a contract right there. That's a way of, they're deciding how they want to come through and who they want to come through and making that happen.
And so it's like you carry that person with you your whole life. So when you read them or did the session, she had hers and he had his, but they've had them for years and years.
Yes, they have individually, which is super cool.
Yeah. And you said you had another book then you wanted
Yes, I have one more book. Well, I have a bunch of books, but one of my favorites is The Energetic Fertility Method by Nancy May, and who's a friend of mine. She's an incredible clairvoyant and spirit baby communicator. She was actually a student of Walter McKitchen.
Yes.
And so she just has like this other inside scoop to it all. But her book is so incredible in really breaking down the chakras and breaking down the energy and how to work with the energy of the body and how you really can start to see how emotions and feelings and situations can block specific areas of the body. So her book is excellent, a top recommendation.
I love that. And yeah, just briefly on the blocking piece, and we talked about that a little bit, but anything you want to say on that with those emotions that's why you're doing the forgiveness exercises, the heart openers, the throat openers, be able to give your own voice. Is that kind of be able to let that stuff out?
I think it's super important to be able to do that, because if you're just like a bunch of stuck energy, then it's hard to really, I feel like it's hard for the body to open up to receive. I think it's so important to be able to have that, to have the body feeling light and clean and clear in an energetic perspective, because it just makes you an attractor, if that's the right word, and attracting your baby like a magnet. So, there's lots of things that can get stuck in our mindset. Maybe not feeling worthy that we're meant to be a mom. And so things like that need to be worked through on a consistent basis and on a deep level, so that you can move forward and just bring it all together.
Mm-hmm. Is there a success story you'd like to share with us?
Let's see. Yes, I have my client, Jill. She, I think, experienced maybe 4 miscarriages. It was such a hard road for her, of just really feeling so down, because you're just constantly worried that it's going to happen again. And so we worked together for a few months, and I really worked on getting her confidence level back up. So feeling confident, connecting with her spirit baby. So I had her do a lot of exercises and I would say more like, when I say exercises, I mean like meditations of her meeting her spirit baby. And then I would actually give her messages from her spirit baby. And she actually had 2 of them, and she is right now pregnant with twins.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And she is due I think she's due in February. And one of the just amazing things that came through from her spirit baby, if you'd like to hear, during her session, so I connected with her spirit baby, and only one of them connected with me. And the spirit baby came in and said to me, her parents were sitting by a fire, and they were talking about me. And so I went back to my client after I did my session. I did my video to my client, and I said, I just want to let you know, spirit baby said, were you at some type of fire or a bonfire or something? And you were talking about the baby, and they weren't pregnant yet. I believe they had just did an IVF. And she said, oh my God, Nancy, last weekend we were at my boss's house up in Connecticut, sitting around a fire pit, and my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, oh, we know we're pregnant. We just know we're pregnant right now. And we were both blown away.
That's amazing. I know.
Yeah, the spirit baby said full out right there, knew where they were, knew they were sitting at a fire. And there's no reason I would know that, so things like that, when I get these messages and when we get the proof like that, it just proves that there's so much going on right on the other side of the veil, It's just incredible. So, and to see clients, just go from feeling, hopeless or just feeling like, it's never going to happen, to then being pregnant is just such a joy. It really is.
I love that. Is there any final thoughts you have on this for us?
I think one of the most important things is to be consistent with this type of work and whatever it is. I always say you can go to the gym or you can go for a run and it's going to feel good and it'll be good for your body. But if you don't do it more than once, then you're not going to really gain the benefit of it. Doing Reiki, doing it every other week is a great thing so that you're consistently working on it. If you want to work on your intuition and things like that, then you have to meditate, try doing meditation 2 or 3 times a week, trying to make it on a consistent schedule. Anything just like with you, Sarah, when you're going to say hey, go gluten-free, we can't just do it one day. We have to be consistent with it in order for us to really see the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Building that muscle. And I just know the more I dig into this piece myself is just being, especially, helping others on this journey. The more I help myself on this, then I can help others too, to dig into my practice. And I believe we're all intuitive. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're here for a reason. You found us for a reason. I do believe in all those synchronicities and things lining up. And now, before I used to be question it. Now if I find something, I'm I just go. Okay, yes. I don't need to think about it. Just don't, not using the logical mind. Obviously you need to be practical in some respect, but trusting your intuition is for me is where all the fun lies.
Yes. And when you when you just start to work that muscle, things just become easier, you make those decisions and you're boom, it feels good. Let's do it, and there is no, sitting there for days trying to figure out what to do. It just feels good. So definitely I encourage all women and people in general to really just connect with that intuition, and make it work for you.
Awesome. And where can listeners find you, Nancy?
I can be found on Instagram at Nancy Weiss Fertility Coach. And my website is trusttoconceive.com. A little play on TTC instead of trying to conceive.
Yes.
Trusttoconceive.com.
Love that. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your really powerful words of wisdom on this topic. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so excited to be able to do the podcast today and to work with you. It's so exciting.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call is for action takers, really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com, and click on book a free call. You may be taking supplements that instead of optimizing your fertility, may be harming it. That's why we recommend professional grade supplements without harmful dyes, fillers, or top allergens. Simply go to Fab Fertile Store, that's FABfertilestore.com, to receive a 15% discount on our basic supplement recommendations for preconception health. That's FabFertileStore.com. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.